Kyle here from allmeatreviews.blogspot.com, and here to do a video about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2017 and the Rock Hall. Even though this is, whatever, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and change, something like this, like over 2 weeks after the announcements. And of course you can vote, as I've been voting every day. Well, maybe just go over the list quickly from 2017 of nominations. Let's see here. This is alphabetical. Bad Brains, The Cars, Chaka Khan, Chic, for like the, I don't know, 5th or 6th year in a row, and I don't know how many times total. Depeche Mode, ELO, Jay Giles Band, Jane's Addiction, Janet Jackson, Joan Baez, Joe Tex, Journey, Kraftwerk, MC5, Pearl Jam, Steppenwolf, Tupac Shakur, of course, Yes, and the Zombies. Well, we'll see who ends up getting in. It's sometime they make that announcement in sometime in December. I want to say the second or third week of December. And they haven't even been consistent on that. They don't have like a set time or the first, always, for the nomination list and for the induction list. The top 5, as it's set up right now, get in. Top 5, maybe 6, and then they have, that's the performer category. Then there's like another category for they select 2 that are on that list. I know like Ringo Starr made it one year. Anyway, I've written about this like more than once. It seems like almost every year now, last couple of years, about their process. Because you have so many new artists like Pearl Jam, newly eligible, and then you have people that are newly nominated that haven't been nominated in the past. Maybe they were eligible, like Jane's Addiction, but they haven't been nominated before. It just continues to add up with them inducting only 5 or 6 artists every year. As much as you don't want to, quote-unquote, let everyone in, it would definitely benefit the process and lessen some of the complaints, I would guess. It's a little bit like the NCAA tournament where they doubled it, or they could extend it, and they should double it or triple it, or double it, triple, whatever. Instead of having 5 or 6 acts, artists, performers, musicians inducted every year, have 10 or 11. Maybe just do a flat 10, or maybe have 10, and then the other thing they really could do, which would be similar to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which was sort of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was modeled after to a point. Have 1 or 2 extra, not under that other category, which I should look it up, but as a quote-unquote veterans committee, acts that have at least, maybe not been 25 years since their debut single or debut album, but acts that have been eligible for 25 years and haven't gotten in. Find a way to get those in. You go to Future Rock Legends, I'm going to go through the whole list, but there's so many acts that have not even been nominated, like the Monkees or like the Moody Blues, which just continues to give reason to rant about this. I suppose that's sort of an enjoyable process to, criticize this whole process, and Jan Wenner and all the other people involved with the voting. But the other big key to it is if you could double it would be nice if they could double the amount that are inducted and then double the amount that are nominated. That list is a nomination list of, let's just count it just to be as fully accurate. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. There's 19 acts nominated, which is more actually than typically. I think it's usually about 15. I think I wrote. So there's 19 on that list. Well, maybe they're starting to get baby steps in terms of, adding more nominees every year, but 19 still is not enough. It's not going to cut it. It doesn't work. And I know their whole argument could be that, well, if you get that many more nominations, then the vote numbers get lower. But no, you do is you induct or elect and induct more as you nom. So instead of having 15 or 19, that may be the highest number they've ever had. Actually, looking at, you go to FutureRockLegends.com, they have a pretty decent, extensive list of history going back to whatever the year that it was founded in '86 or '87. I think it was '86 that it started, so it was 30 years ago. No, you should. It should be about 25 to 30 every year. So you induct 10, you nominate 25 to 30, and then it'll also the fact that when artists get nominated, in some cases, a case of like when Rush got nominated or Kiss got nominated, they got in the first time. Journey, I think this is the first time they've been nominated. They probably are going to get in. But in more cases, like Yes or Deep Purple last year, if Yes were to get in this year, the more times you get nominated, the more likely you'll get in. Other than say like Chic or I don't know about Janet Jackson, because I know she's been nominated. She was nominated, I think, last year, the year before. I think it was last year, and she'd been nominated at least one or two other times. So it's not like a universal thing, but the chances are it increases, especially if you have common return voters, which adds to my next point. Okay, who votes? Of course, they added the fan vote about 4 or 5 years ago, and they're trying to tweak it and improve how it's set up. But the only thing they've restricted fans from voting is you can't vote on the site multiple times without submitting an email address, and your email address can only be once per day. But you can have multiple email addresses, of course, or through Facebook, same thing. But there's like 800 approximately voters for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The fan vote is 1, so 1/800th. It's 0.0125% or something like that. It does not reflect who the fans want in if you just get that 1 out of 800 votes. Now, a lot of people that vote are people that are in it, like Geddy Lee now, or Springsteen, or you name anyone who's in, the members of Led Zeppelin or the Beatles or the Stones. I'm not sure of all of them. I think they have to renew it. They may even have to pay something. But among those 800 voters, and a lot of them are listed on FutureRockandLegends.com, although a lot of them are not. There's a percentage of them that are musicians that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's a percentage of them that, of course, are media people, which is questionable to begin with. And there's a percentage of them that are, like, people that are label reps, like Springsteen's manager, John Landau, I think it is. Anyway, so among those, that 800, we don't know how many of are what. If the fans' vote really was being reflected a little more fairly, as I've said in the blog, it would be like not the Baseball Hall of Fame, I don't believe at least to an extent, but more likely the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It should be that fans vote, that all the votes that come on should be worth 1/3, at least 1/3, at least more than 1.25% or whatever it is. 1/3, 33%. Then it's not fully accurate, but it's not going to fully represent who gets in, but at least the fan who paid the money to buy the albums, listen to the radio, go to the concerts, buy the merch, the reason why they're likely in there. There's a big reason why. The fans should have like 1/3 of the vote, like the baseball All-Star Game. The other 2/3 could be easily rock and roll inductees / musicians, and the other third that'd be 1/3 industry people, like John Landau or producers or whoever, writers, record label people, whoever that, it would be like on the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, it's 1/3 fan vote that you vote at the games every year, the first half of the year. 1/3 goes to the media, they write about the games, and 1/3 goes to the players, so your peers. But I don't know if and when that ever will happen. It could take many years, but if they really want to improve this thing, in my mind, that would be a very good, at least a possible way to improve it and reflect more accurately. You wouldn't have people like Moody Blues and Yes and Jethro Tull and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, not even getting nominated. And the Monkees not even getting nominated, or let alone get in. So the other point is not just the voting itself and that percentage of voting, but the nominating committee, which you obviously have to in order to be voted for, you have to actually get on the ballot. You can't get on the ballot if you're not actually being nominated by someone on the nominating committee. That's a group of people of it's like 50 or 60 or 70 people. That list is on FutureRockLegends.com as well. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I know John Landau, I know Steve Van Zant's on there. I know Questlove has been on there. I know Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine's on there. which has helped some of the acts like Rush or Kiss or Deep Purple get in there the last few years. I know Eddie Trunk is a voter. I'm not sure if he's actually on that committee. I know Wenner has been on that committee, but I'm not sure he currently is. But I know, like, was it Steve Marsh, who also wrote for Rolling Stone, I think it was, or one of the other magazines, who hated Kiss, has been on there. That committee controls a lot of what happens with these nominations as well. I think that committee, I think the fans should have, maybe in that case they could have one vote. You get one representative, and that person represents the committee and comes with the fans' interest. You can come up with a list of the top, whatever they have to nominate. They nominate 10 or 15, maybe it's 10 artists every year. You get a fan list of nominations before the whole nominations are announced, when that leads up to it. The other 40, 50, 60 people on that committee, I think the best solution to that, so it doesn't get so repetitive, although it kind of goes against the whole artist getting nominated more than once and having their chances increase, but there should be a term limit. Those people that are on that committee, limit of 5 years, maybe even less. After 5 years, they have to get out. They can maybe apply to be on that committee again at some point. Wenner and Marshall, the people that are involved, and Greg Harris and whoever else is on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame group. But Joel Perisman, that group needs to change regularly. It hasn't changed. A lot of those names haven't changed. Some of them have, but not enough. Term limits and the fans need a representation. In fact, 1 out of 60 is low. You might want to have the fan nomination representative have a higher percentage. So I don't know how likely that is. The more likely you'll increase the change in the way the voting's done when they actually set that up and for the voting itself among the 800. But you really, in my mind, as I've written about on the blog multiple times, they really need to consider that. Now, you have people like Tupac Shakur, Public Enemy, all these rap artists. Well, why aren't they putting country artists in there? Why aren't they putting other jazz artists other than Miles Davis? The arguments can be raised why it's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's offshoots. It's under the umbrella of rock and roll. But truly, they should either change the name of it. They probably never will do that. They're just going to have to redefine what rock and roll is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But there's a double or triple standard there. Of course, they keep on putting all these rap. I'm sure that if Tupac keeps on getting nominated, if he doesn't get in, he keeps on getting in because eventually NWA got in last year. You'll have Notorious B.I.G. and then you'll have Kanye West will be on the ballot eventually. And for Kendrick Lamar and all these people that just have nothing to do with Bill Haley in the comments or the Beatles or the Stones. Really, very very loosely connected. I would put a lot of the jazz rock stuff as connected to that stuff, if not more, than those rap artists. But that I would say if you improve the whole process of nominations and voting, that will at least that can be accepted more. I still think there's a double standard though, also with the genres. Why can't you put bluegrass in there? It has to be pop music. Well, then it should be a pop music Hall of Fame, not a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If it was the pop music Hall of Fame, Madonna being in there is perfectly acceptable. And Tupac Shakur maybe had a few songs that were on the radio. Fine, that's pop music. Rock and roll, by most people's definition, isn't pop music. There's rock and roll that is pop, but there's a lot of cases of pop music that has very little to do with in terms of style, just what it sounds like, what the approach, the writing style, everything. So this is a kind of a hyperbole, of course, but I was thought like after this year's nomination, maybe I'll do an annual one of these, just to look at the nominations list. I guess my predictions are, I think Journey gets in, I think Pearl Jam probably gets in just because they're like Nirvana Jr., as I wrote in the blog. I think that Yes will get in this year. For some reason, I think it's finally about to happen, and with them getting in, I hope it opens it up. Stuff like Jethro Tull and the Moody Blues, King Crimson, ELP, Kansas, all those groups are going to have longer shots because they weren't as popular as Yes. I think Tull is the one other one that probably will eventually get in. The Moody Blues just need a little more momentum, a little bit like ELO. I think ELO may get in, but I think, I'd like to see Jane's Addiction get in. I don't think they're going to get in, though. I think it'll end up being, it might be Steppenwolf and it might be Tupac. The Zombies are announced Depeche Mode. In fact, I think Depeche Mode gets in. So if I repeat who I think it's Journey, I think it's Pearl Jam. Those are the two biggest. Those are like the locks. I'm thinking Depeche Mode gets in, even though I think this is maybe the first or second time on the ballot. And then I'm gonna go, and the Cars are on the list too, and Janet Jackson. But I'm gonna go with Yes, and I'm gonna go with. If I have to just do a prediction, I'm gonna go with Yellow. Somehow Yes and Yellow will both get in. The Cars get either ELO and the Cars, or Yes and one of those. Two of those three will get in. Maybe I'm not predicting the right one. Steppenwolf would be nice to get in, but I don't know. It took them long enough to get on the ballot. They've been eligible since like 1993. So anyway, thank you for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, and give me your take on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm sure you think it sucks. It's a joke, but just for shits and giggles, who do you think is going to get in? Who would it mean anything to you or most to you to get in? King Crimson, Maiden, Priest, you name it.